Kevin Samuels passing away is more significant than I think people understand, because so many people misunderstood his message, and they misunderstood because they didn't listen. So they caught the snippets, clip here, clip there, and then you combine that with somebody else saying he's a misogynist, and it's very easy to come to that conclusion because of how his clips were cut up. But his message was reuniting the black family, and putting in all the work necessary to do so. And because people weren't used to hearing women being held accountable, not just men, because everyone holds men accountable. We've been talking about men since I can remember. Men leaving their family, men running out on their homes, men. We finally had somebody talking about the women's role in it all, and it became problematic. He could have very easily went on and done exactly what he did, but to men. Actually, he did, but he could have very easily made money talking to women about men, rather than his approach, which was always two men and then two women, to the advantage of a relationship and men. But it was always male-centric. So his message continued to be from day one, hey guys, this is what you need to do to become what he coined, and it's not his, he didn't create it, but high value man. So once he felt he was getting results that he was satisfied with, he made a shift over, because at that point the men were saying, yeah, well, I'm doing what you're doing, sir, but now where are the women that I'm supposed to be courting? Where are the women that are supposed to be available to me when I get to this certain status? So then he started talking to women, and that's where he really blew up. Not because he was doing something good, but because people perceived him to hate women. So he didn't blow up for the reason that he should have blown up. But the fact that so many people hated him brought eyes to him. And that's a good thing, because that's how I found him. When I found him, I went back and watched all of his old stuff to guys. He talked to them exactly the same way, if not harsher than he talked to women. The problem is nobody knows that because they weren't watching back then. It's only when he addressed women that it went viral. And he attributed a lot of that to the Average at Best video. I had already kind of was watching by then, but he would hold women accountable to their own standard. So he would say, okay, what do you want from a guy? And they give these insanely luxurious lifestyles that they want to live. And he said, okay, well, do you know how to get the guy that you're describing? And they would say yes, but clearly they didn't, because it didn't take very long in his line of questioning for them to reveal that they have no idea how to get the guy that they're talking about. So he laid out a framework for, okay, if you want this guy, this is what you need to do. And then once they realize that that's not attainable, because the numbers say that it's not attainable for the most part, because there's so few of those men, and all women want those few men. The pool is too large, and you have to recognize what you're bringing to the table in order to meet this guy's expectations, which are going to be up here. So his solution to all of those women was something no one wanted to hear. Why can't you date an average man? And average men all over this country, and eventually over the world, because he had a lot of people calling in, and a lot of women, a lot of men, couples. He had people calling in from all over the world, say, hey, I agree with you. I see what you're saying. But when he asked them why they can't have an average man, which is most men, the women looked down on the average man, even though they were average, or even in a lot of cases below average. That's a problem. It's a big problem, because you're now insulting most men, and his main target was black men. So you're looking down on black men and you don't even realize it until you utter the words, I can't date a guy who makes X salary. So the average black man makes $41,000. I believe that's the number, $41,500. Why can't you date an average man? You're an average woman. Do you come from this privilege that you're describing that you want to have from a man? No. So where are these expectations coming from? It's all he did. Show after show after show after show after show. He tried to show women that there's nothing wrong with average men. The problem is your expectations. And your thought process to get those expectations were flawed because they're based on you having a value up here. But everything you say is valuable, men don't agree. We don't hold the same things valuable. Guys don't care about your education. They don't care about your money. This is a fact. Not guys who are worth anything. They don't. It's good. It's good. But that's not what we value. So he laid out the things that we value overall. He was very consistent and very accurate. And it even sparked conversations between myself and my wife where she didn't realize what she didn't even realize what she brought to our marriage. That's so valuable to have two people who are married be able to talk 15 years in and discover something new based on a conversation that this guy's having on YouTube. That's really valuable because we learned something about each other after all this time that we didn't even know. She's like, wow, that's crazy. I did not know that this is how you think. And I mean, this goes back to the beginning of time. Men have always been trying to figure out women. Women have always been trying to figure out men. That is a multi-billion-dollar industry. That alone is something that can't be completely solved. But when a conversation can be sparked, even between people who've known each other and loved each other all over a decade, that's value. He helped us learn some stuff. He helped me articulate some things to my wife that I thought I had articulated. But when he said it, she got offended and got heated, and we started talking about it. It's like, no, that's haven't I been telling you this the whole time? She's like, no. Oh, okay, well, within this context, this is what he's talking about. This is why I believe what I believe. And it helped us talk. We had a lot of conversations about this guy. Not really about him. Well, some about him, but more about the content. That's value. All the women who were offended, there's two classes of women who were offended by what Kevin Samuels did. The ones he was talking about, and then the ones who either misunderstood or were told he said this and shown a clip that supported what they were told. That's it. Those are the only ones who are offended by it. The guys are pathetic. The guys are the lowest. They're the guys who can't stand Kevin Samuels that are single. The guys who couldn't stand Kevin Samuels and are single are guys who are just trying to get laid by the women who he's talking about. That's it. That's the bottom line. That's the lowest of the low. Those are guys who just can't. They're the dirty max. They just can't get a woman. Or they don't want one. But he was taking away that low-hanging fruit, and they don't like that. They don't like that. So I understand the guys more than I understand the women. The women he was giving advice was sound advice, healthy advice, and would help them get what they want. But the tone, they could not take. And it's really sad that he's gone because I don't think he realized. I know he knew, because he talked about it all the time. He knew he was having an impact. I'm not sure he understands how big the impact. Because I think his impact was more towards getting men and women together to their unions versus I don't know if he realized how many actual already married couples he was impacting. And I think it was very, very positive. Because if anyone who really can watch a whole video, and when he starts going in on somebody, he was returning the energy they were giving him. It's not like he just started insulting people. He would politely ask women, "Hey, don't do this, please, don't do this," and then they would do it, and then he would push back, and then they would do it. Then he'd be like, "Listen, you don't have to go here, but if we want to go here, I'm gonna talk about you," and he would clown them. It's no difference than a heckler at a comedy show. You know you're not supposed to do that. The man laid out the rules. You did it. Now you're getting clowned, and he'd say it. "I'll make you famous." The old Emilio Estevez line from Young Guns. "I can make you famous." And that's what happened. And those are the clips that people saw. So they thought his show was making fun of, clowning, insulting black women. No, it was making fun of, clowning, and insulting that specific black woman. But that had nothing to do with the content of his show overall. The context of his show was trying to get these women to realize you are average. There's nothing wrong with average, and he would say that. There's nothing wrong with being average. But by putting yourself in the 9-10 category, 8-9-10 category, you're dismissing all these average guys, construction worker, guy who has a small business, anyone under, because most women would give the range of 6 figures. So any guy who's making less than 6 figures to these women were expendable. And they didn't hold value to. These are all black men. These are people, humans. And that's who he was making the show for men. And even if it meant telling women, "Hey, you are average. So is this guy over here. Why can't you talk to him? Why isn't he good enough for you? What makes you special?" And I never heard one that really legitimately said something that made sense to me, because the women's value system was completely different from what ours is. Because the first thing they would start talking about is what degrees they got, how much money they made. That's the man, like, they start talking like a husband and what they think a guy wants. That guy doesn't want to be a wife. So I don't understand. Man, there was hatred. There's Twitter, I just couldn't even look at. I'm like, this is so nasty and disgusting and hateful. And then what I started doing yesterday was that I would see how nasty it was. Then I would click on the profile picture, and I go, they took it personal. And I heard somebody on Melanie King's show say this, and it's true. That man was an image consultant. He was holding the mirror up to Black America, and we didn't like the image we saw. So instead of adjusting our image and working on our image and doing the work, that's what he always talked about, put in the work. Instead of doing that, it's easier to say, "I don't like this mirror. Take it down, put it somewhere else so I don't have to look at me." That's all he did. So when he said, "I reflect the same energy," I'm giving back the same energy. He was a mirror. He was showing he was showing these women their image. They just so happened to be doing it in front of millions of people. But a lot of those millions stayed because, yeah, we're laughing at this person because they were an idiot and they started a fight and they thought they were going to come in, clap, and whatever. We were really there for the message because it made sense. We see it every day. We live it every day. And when we were single, we lived through what these people are talking about. And there's a lot of good dudes out there that just make 50,000, 60,000, 75, 80,000. There's nothing wrong with these guys. But women don't think they're of value. And they were judging men as a price tag and knew nothing about men. And they weren't even interested, because when he'd start telling them, they're not even interested in what we are, who we are, what our purpose is. So it was always fascinating to see him talk, especially to the independent women who don't realize independence is the opposite of what a man wants to be married to. You can be independent within a marriage, but that's not what we see. That's not what we saw every show. We saw women who think I'm going to be independent. I'm going to finish school. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then when I'm ready, and I'm between 30 and 35, now I'm going to go look for a guy who can support me. No, that's not what we want. And that's not a marriage. And then they start talking about, I want a man who can help me and we can build together. Build what? You're already done with school. He didn't support you through school. You're already got your little entrepreneurial ventures. He didn't help you with that. You want a man to support you and your goals. The ones you can't attain by yourself. So you want that extra financing to support what you want. That's not why we're here. It's not why we're here. And the two biggest things that I learned was the submission and agreeableness are terrifying to women because they look at it from a different lens, the context of it. They don't like those words. Ooh, those words triggered. And the comments would start going crazy on any social media platform. And then the women in front of them would, the way they reacted to the words, they just couldn't handle it. So I'm gonna miss that. It was very important, really important work, and it's unfortunate that it's gone. But we have a catalog that goes back, I think, 1 or 2 full years of just women, and then he did 3 years for men. So there's a catalog that we can go look back on and realize what he was doing. And as you watch, if you could sit through a whole episode, you'll see, oh, wait a minute, he's not doing what I thought he was doing. If you're a detractor, or if you just didn't like him, if you sit there for one full show, you'll say, oh, I see why he's doing what he's doing. Because he openly stated why he's doing what he's doing. He went about it in funny ways, in controversial ways. That was to get people to watch. It was almost like a clickbait thing. Because you really didn't always get what you thought you were going to get. But it was you got something different. They pulled a swerve on us. And you would get more information than you thought you were going to get, and less clowning than you. You didn't even get him clowning everyone. You didn't even get him clowning a person once per episode. It might happen, but it never got so bad. The viral episodes are the ones where he clowned somebody, and it was just really, really funny. But that's no reason to hate this man. That's no reason to do all these hateful comments on social media. It's bad. But fellas, when you meet a woman, type her name in, search her name in, and Kevin Samuels, and see how nasty she can be, because they're all showing themselves right now, all of them, guys too. If you could celebrate somebody's death and they're not like a pedo or a murderer, something's wrong with you. You're off. You have a disdain, a venom in you that no other person should have to deal with, because you're celebrating their death. It's one thing to be indifferent. It's another thing to be gleeful. It's one thing to joke. It's another thing to be enjoying the moment. It's not a good look. It's a terrible look. And his significance, whether you like it or not, is only going to grow, because those videos, unless the family takes them down, the views are going to grow, because people are like, who is this guy trending? Why was he a thing? And more people will look at him, and more people will learn from it. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing. So that's all I have to say.